Ship of Dreams, Chapter 4, Below Deck. Theo leads you to a raucous mess hall on the third-class deck, and you've nearly been knocked backward by the wave of sound. Even my sister's wedding and nothing on how busy this place is. Is it like this every night? There's decent standing rooms, usually there are more people. He laughs as you stare at him, your mouth falling open in surprise. Don't worry, Violet. I'll keep you safe under my wing. I always appreciate being close to you. Theo gently rests a hand on your lower back and your body flushes with heat against his touch. Then I'll be sure not to let you stray too far. Theo leads you towards a counter where various passengers have lined up to receive food from the mess hall's kitchen, and before long the cooks hand Theo your bowls of creamy soup and some bread. Bigger than expected. Theo passes you his bowl, his hand brushing against yours, setting your nerves alight with the heat before you can even clasp a warm bowl. I know it's probably not what you're used to up in first class, but it's better than the other ships I've been on. Your stomach growls at the scent of the rich, creamy soup and freshly baked bread. It looks wonderful and smells even better. He leads you towards one of the long wooden tables filled with a couple of strangers, one of whom flags you down. Sit, please, eat with us. Please pardon Mr. Jacob's enthusiasm. He loves meeting new people, but we would enjoy the company. You and Theo take your seats next to them, his thigh settling against yours, the weight of which nearly makes you forget about you're staring at the woman across from you. I'm Anaya. Theo's thigh rubs against yours, and the woman's name leaves your mind, replaced by a heady flush of Theo's touch. The woman stares at you, waiting for a response. It's a pleasure to, meet you. I'm Violet. I believe I've actually met this young lady before. A familiar-looking man in a waiter's uniform slides onto the bench beside her. Oh, you work in one of the restaurants in first class. Indeed, I'm Javier. It's nice to meet you all. Thank you for letting me join you. Theo watches you closely as you take your first bite of food, and the weight of his gaze on you as your lips wrap around the spoon somehow makes you feel even more flushed. Well, what do you think? It's certainly very creamy. A whole new sensation in my mouth. Delicious. I've never tasted anything so wonderful. Are you sure you're not just hungry? It's a big ship, and you cross it frequently. I think I'd enjoy this regardless. You dive back into your meal, tearing off hunks of fresh bread, dip into the rich broth until it disappears sooner than you imagine. Grinning, Theo passes you a spare bread roll. Here, you look like you could use this more than me. I look as ravenous as a stray hound, do I? You look like you're enjoying yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. You take the roll, using it to mop up the last drops of delicious broth from your bowl. Next to you, Jacob beams in approval. It's good to see a young woman with an appetite. Back home in Poland, the women know how to eat. I would be happy then to eat if I wasn't so seasick. I was lucky to make most of the trip from India by train, but my stomach wasn't made for the seafaring kind of travel. She pushes her mostly full bowl to one side. Oh, don't feel too bad. People on the upper decks abandon their dishes to seasickness all the time. Potted shrimp, custard puddings, entire platters of spiced beef. It's enough to make a grown man weep. Oh, the food, or talk of food isn't helping. You turn to your new acquaintance to strike up a new conversation. I'll talk to Jacob. He seems like a lovely man. Tell me, Jacob, what brings you all the way here from Poland? I'm on my way to New York to visit my daughter and her family for the first time in years. In years? Oh, sadly so. There's Oh, not much opportunity in Krakow, so my daughter immigrated to America and joined the Polish community in Chicago. That's where she met her husband. Now, with a good job and family, she's treating me to a family vacation in New York. My granddaughter even promised to take me to Coney Island for some ice cream. As the meal progresses, everyone continues sharing stories about their days or talking about their plans for when the ship lands. The easy, laughter-filled atmosphere is in stark contrast to the stilted dinner conversations of polite society. Poor Adele is probably stuck talking about the weather right now. I just hope she's too distracted to notice my absence. But as Theo turns to you, his eyes bright with laughter, your thoughts of Adele slip away unheeded. Well, what do you think? Third class isn't too shabby, is it? No, not too shabby at all. But I can't help wondering about the children. Why you know what? I'm doing it. You gesture towards the next table where young girls are busily stacking several water cups into a tower. It's the London Tower! Surely they must grow bored on such a long journey, especially being cooped up below deck. Theo's face softens at the sight of the girl. I know it's not ideal, but the children down here are used to making their own fun. Why, just yesterday I caught a group of them swinging from the cranes in the cargo hold. Isn't that dangerous? Everyone looks after them down here. To them, it's just a way to have a good time. Welcome to people who are low class. We literally and figuratively, will play with sticks and mud. No, I'm not even kidding. We have an imagination that a lot of people just honestly wish they had. As everyone continues eating, some familiar stokers make their way over to your table with a handful of drinks. Here, Miss Violet, you shouldn't miss out on this drink from Prague. He winks as you take your first sip, trying not to make a face. The strong alcohol is very different than the wine you're used to. While we're all here, I challenge everyone to a round of Share a Scar. Is that one of those games that involves a knife? No, it's not Make a Scar. It's a drinking game. Someone tells a story behind their scars, physical or otherwise, and the rest of us guess if it's true. If you guessed wrong, you drink. And if you call out someone who lied, they have a drink. Either way, it's a win. Theo turns to you, raising his eyebrows in a good-natured challenge as his leg gently brushes up and down against yours, the invitation in his eyes fueling a swirl of excitement. Do you, want to get on in the game? It would be a chance to learn more about Theo's past. And I did notice some intriguing scars of his earlier. You can feel your pulse quickening at the memory of his bare chest, his thin, half-button shirt clinging damply to his skin. I promise to share plenty of good stories. And so will we. I'd love to play. Come in. As everyone pulls your chairs into a rough circle around the table, you make sure to sit next to Theo. The game begins with Javier launching into an obviously tall tale about a scar on his ankle. The great white shark in my shoe were never seen from again. You have a future in picture show telling lies like that. The group erupts into laughter, and a good-naturedly Javier takes a large slug from the bottle. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a story. Theo rolls up one of his shirt sleeves, displaying a long, thin scar that runs the length of his muscular biceps. What a scar. Before you can stop yourself, you reach out, softly brushing your fingers against the raised line of his bare skin. This story happened. He trails off, losing his train of thought. Before clearing his throat, you come to your senses and quickly pull away, your fingers still burning from the heat of his body. A few years ago, on another ship I was crewing on, we woke up midnight to the sound of a huge blast. A blast? What was it? One of the boilers had burst, sending jets of hot steam through the boiler room. I was lucky to be sleeping nearby. I was able to make it there in time to help out, although I'm afraid I didn't escape completely unscathed. He gives a shrug, turning to you as he finishes the tale. Sounds pretty tall if you ask me. What do you think, Miss Violet? A thin scar up his arm. Hot steam. As a person who has seen people who have actual burns, I'm going to go he's lying. Theo turns to you in mock offense, plastering on an innocent expression on his face. Ouch, Violet. Are you sure you don't want to change your mind? It's not too late, you know. Oh, please. Now I'm even more sure that you're lying. To your dismay, Theo just grins, passing you the bottle of alcohol. The audience cheers as you grudgingly take the bottle, enjoying the way his fingers brush against yours. Sorry, Violet, but I did try to warn you. He had a thin, again, I'm remembering this correctly, a thin line up his arm. I'm just saying. Dipping the bottle upward, you take a long swig. You cough as the alcohol hits your mouth, burning your throat and making your eyes water. So, all that really happened? Theo's being modest as usual. I was on the same boat with him. Theo actually saved another crewman during that accident. Theo's a hero. Theo waves the praise away with his hand. Anyone would have done the same thing in my shoes. You remember how quickly Theo leapt to your rescue the day you met, his strong arms pulling you to safety, a steady heat between you and the all-consuming blaze of the furnace. I'm not so sure about that. His gaze meets yours for an instant, and his mouth quirks in a small grin, clearly touched by your praise. But enough stories about me. Let's go on with our game. Your heart speeds nervously as everyone turns expectantly in your direction. Well, Miss Violet, impress us with a truth or a tall tale. I have a few to tell about more or less literal scars, but maybe I could make everyone think I'm lying. I got a scar on my shoulder while falling off a staircase. I have a scar on one hand from the opera. Was burned saving a group of children from a terrible fire. Have a scar from the opera. It was the performance of a lifetime, although tragically it was cut short. An opera singer? Here? Dining with us? Oh, please. I'll bet my last dollar that Miss Violet isn't an opera singer. I'm not so sure she's lying. After all, if there's one thing I've learned about Violet, it's that you should never underestimate her. At Theo's compliment, you feel another rush of warmth spread through your body. Theo's right. Technically, I wasn't lying, although I may have stretched the truth a bit. I got the scar from a paper cut while reading The Phantom of the Opera. She got us there. As the others take turns passing them all around, Theo looks at you in admiration, his hand brushing against yours underneath the table. Well done. Are you sure you haven't played this game before? Of course I haven't. I'm just a woman of many talents. Playfully, he runs his gaze up and down your body, his eyes leaving a trail of heat in his wake. Now that I definitely believe. Well, enough fooling around. When is someone going to share a juicy emotional scar? I don't see emotional scars as being juicy, but I digress. As a group works its way around the circle, your group shares stories of past heartbreaks. And I've never been able to see leather straps without a bit of sadness after saying goodbye to Rosalie. Oh, Pa, you told us you spent but one night with the girl. One night I'll remember for the rest of my life. I wonder what Theo will say. You wait breathlessly for his turn to share, trying to hide your eagerness, but when the time comes, he just shrugs, his voice casual. Sorry, but I don't have a story to share. My heart's in one piece. At least for now. He glances in your direction, the tender warmth in his eyes making you feel like the only woman in the world. To him, maybe you are. Does he mean that it's in my hands? And what about you, Violet? Any heartbreaks in your life? I am made of stronger stuff than you might think. Was heartbroken when my childhood bird died. Have loved and lost. Theo leans forward, his eyes suddenly bright with interest, and you suppress a smile as you go on. There was a time when I pined after one of my friend's older brothers, but I'm afraid Thomas never saw me in the same way. To be perfectly honest, I'm still not entirely convinced he even knew my name. Theo nods, smiling softly. You feel anything but forgotten as his gaze drinks you in under the warm, low light. Sounds like Thomas was a fool. Agreed, and I think we can all believe that story. Who's next? Javier, I bet you've had a fling or two with one of those two rich ladies you wait on. As the game winds down, you feel a warm glow inside you that has nothing to do with the alcohol. Theo slides you a glass of water, his elbow brushing against yours as he leans on the table. The blissful sparks flicker through you. You should be proud. Most people don't make it through their first game of share a scar sober. Well, the night's still young. Theo chuckles as you take a sip of water. Well, I enjoyed it. Everyone here is so much more open with each other than I'm used to. Being in close quarters means sharing most things, even parts of yourself. And I enjoyed learning a little more about Miss Violet Calhoun. I enjoyed learning about you, Theodora Carter. As the meal continues, you find yourself growing more and more comfortable, laughing and chatting with the rest of the passengers and crew. Another bottle of spirits makes its way around the table, and everyone takes turns raising their glasses in a toast. To family. To friends. To eventually making it to solid ground. As the bottle makes its way around to you, you lift your glass in the air, preparing your own toast. To the freedom of good company. Thank you again for letting me join you tonight. You saved me from more dreadfully social obligations than you could possibly imagine. We're happy to have you. Samuel raises his glass again, gesturing in your direction. To Violet, and to Captain Theo for finding a lady like her. Theo's hand brushes against yours, one finger hooking around yours for a brief moment. You flush with pleasure as everyone loudly cheers, toasting you and Theo with their own glasses. As the shouts and laughter die down, you turn to Theo, leaning close so he can hear you. Captain Theo, where did that nickname come from? Theo rubs the back of his neck, looking slightly embarrassed. It's silly, but I've always dreamed of being a captain of my own ship. I know people like me don't really become captains of ships like this. But, a man can dream, right? For what it's worth, I think you'd be a wonderful captain. You're brave, strong, loyal, hardworking. Any crew in the world would be lucky to have you as their captain. Careful, Violet. If you keep talking like that, my head will be too swollen to fit in my cap. Well, then we just have to find you a bigger one. If anything here can make it to Captain, it's Theo. What, no faith in your shovel, mate? I've seen you drive a car. If you were in charge of a ship, I'd find my way to a different ocean. Amidst the laughter of the table, Theo smiles and leans closer to you, lowering his voice. Come with me. I want to show you something. He leads you just a short distance away, through one of the many doors lining a nearby hall. As he shuts the door behind you, the distant noise of the mess hall vanishes, and you're left alone to enjoy his company alone. This is your room, isn't it? Yes, it's, I know it's pretty humble compared to your suite, but, You turn to him, a note of fierceness in your voice. But nothing, Theo, it's perfect. And it is. The room may be small, but Theo has already managed to make it feel cozy. You see evidence of his dreams and items all around the room. The diagrams of the Titanic, Theo's picture of a waterfall. You step closer to the picture of a rushing waterfall, marveling at the strength and beauty of it. It's stunning. Theo comes to stand next to you, his shoulder brushing softly against yours in the close quarters. Not bad for a cheap postcard, is it? I like to collect them wherever I go. You peer at the other postcards tacked to the little wall in amazement. Norway, Greece, Italy, Morocco. Are these all countries that you visited? Yep. I like to remind myself of the places I've been and the places I've yet to see. Diagrams of the Titanic. Are these blueprints of the ship? Theo reaches past you to touch the paper, nodding. The heat of his body makes the already warm room feel even hotter. They are. I may or may not have borrowed them from one of the ship's engineers. I spend a lot of time poring over these at night. You do? I'm trying to get to know the workings of the whole ship. It's what any good captain would do. Touched by all the personal items on display, you glance around the room once more. Your eyes land on a small instrument against a dresser. He plays music. It's a fiddle. Theo, you play the fiddle? He shrugs, a modest smile playing on his lips. Just well enough to charm a bar full of drunks. Perhaps you have a calling as an orchestral performer. In another life, maybe. But I know what I want to do with this one. He tilts his head to the side, giving you an earnest look. Your goals, on the other hand, are a mystery. What do you really want out of life, Violet? Well, I'm expected to... I'm not asking what your family wants, I'm asking what you want. You stare at him in surprise, caught off guard by the question. In my whole life, I don't think anyone's ever asked me that before. Then you deserve a chance to answer, don't you think? I've always wanted to... find true love. It sounds naive, but I've always dreamed about the kind of love you read in romance novels. Oh, garbage. Don't give me that bullshit. Stop it. Oh, listen. No, we'll talk about this at the end. Just stay to the end if you actually want to hear it. The kind where someone sweeps me off my feet, but keeps me grounded as well. Words echo around the small room, and you trail off, suddenly feeling foolish. I must sound awfully silly. Not at all. I was actually just thinking about how beautiful you look when you're excited. Stepping forward in the small space, he slides his hand around your waist. At the warmth of his touch, your breath catches in your throat. You wonder if he can hear your heart beat wildly in your chest. For the first time, it dawns on you that you and Theo are completely alone. Forget about the future for a minute, Violet. His voice is soft, the whisper of his breath against your cheek, making you shiver with longing. What do you want right now? I want to say restrain myself for now, which is the free choice, but I'll go with the diamond one to kiss him. There's only one possible answer you can give. Slipping your hands around his neck, you pull him close. He bends his head to meet your kiss, his questing mouth as eager as your own. Violet. Hungrily, Theo deepens the kiss. You part your lips as his tongue slips greedily inside your mouth, eagerly exploring every inch of you. The rest of the world fades away. There's only a swirl of Theo's familiar scent, the soft press of his body against yours, the tantalizing taste of his mouth. Yes. Being truly alone with you for once is intoxicating. There's an urgency to your touches, a boldness that you've never allowed yourself before. Kiss his neck. You pull away from Theo's mouth, trailing a line of soft kisses down his neck instead. His jaw, strong, square, its firmness against your lips, new and unbelievably exciting. Beneath the thin fabric of your brassiere, you feel your nipples grow taut. Groans as you reach the hollow of his throat, his soft rumble of his voice vibrating against your lips. A nameless need floods through you in response. You are aching with desire. Theo lifts you easily into his arms, kissing you deeply as he carries you towards the narrow bed. He pulls you in his lap, your skirts hiking up around your thighs as you slide your legs to either side of his waist. Having your legs spread like this, like they've been pressing against your thighs, makes you more wanton and more desperate than ever before. God, do you even know how incredible you are, Violet? How warm, soft, irresistible. Why don't you show me? Oh, I plan to. He kisses you again as you arch into his touch. The friction of his body slotted between your thighs makes you dizzy with want. In a breathless moment between kisses still straddling his lap, you manage to ask a question of your own. Do you do this often? Bring women back to your quarters to seduce them? From the skillful way that Theo kisses you, you're fairly certain that you already know the answer. I've definitely enjoyed the attention of other women before. I see. I see, even in I think this was 50s? I could be wrong, it's been a while. I guess body count was still a thing on the Titanic. I'm sorry. Moving on. I'm bringing one back to my quarters, sharing my hopes and dreams with him. Theo shakes his head, his gaze fastened with yours. Actually, 1912, I do apologize. No, that I've only ever done with you. I hope I don't disappoint. This is a special first for you too, and this is all very new to me. Reach up to trail your fingers along his jaw. What if I can't live up to your expectations? His gaze darkens with passion. Reaching up, he gently cups your cheek with one hand. His thumb lightly stroking your cheek, you feel a shiver that has nothing to do with your nerves. My expectations, oh Violet. He shakes his head, a hint of smile tugging at the corners of his lips, his hands tighten reassuringly around your waist. You've already shattered them all. Heat blossoms between your legs as a growing wave of desire washes over you. Your earlier playfulness faded between a sudden pulsing need. Kiss me, Theo. Now. As if you have to ask. Eagerly, he leans forward, capturing your lips with his. The heat of his mouth makes you spin, as does the feeling of him straddled between your thighs. Run my hands over his chest. Spurred on by his passionate kisses, you slide your hands against his chest, eagerly exploring. His broad chest is rock solid beneath your hands, the heat of his body radiating through the thin fabric of his rough work shirt. You trace your hands lower, down his flat stomach, marveling at the feel of him beneath your fingertips. You feel so warm, so strong. So alive. Wait to skip. You know why. Another shift. Oh god, that means I left Adele hours ago. I have to get back to my room. Ruefully, Theo helps you to your feet, nodding. From the look in his eyes, he regrets moving apart just as much as you do. He pauses for a moment to tuck a lock of stray hair behind your ear. I'll see you again soon, Violet. I'm not sure how yet, but I promise I'll find a way. Bending low, he presses one last gentle kiss to your cheek. You savor the warmth of it, and then duck quickly through the door. Somehow you manage to make your way through the maze-like third-class corridors and up onto the moonlit deck. I'm already starting to learn my way around. Your pulse is still pounding as you tiptoe to your suite, closing the door quietly behind you, but inside, all is silent. If I'm lucky, she's already in bed. In before she's sitting in a chair, but the moment you step into your bedroom... Where have you been, Violet? I've been worried sick. Enjoying life without you watching over everything I do. Without further ado, thank you all for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Head down the description. Plenty of things to do there, as well as support. And do remember that if you want to become more a part of this community, this family that we have here, especially besides just hitting a subscribe button and watching the videos, there are things down in the comments section, or excuse me, description for that. But let me know down in the comment section below what you thought of today's story. Besides that, let me say the following. As I said, we'd get to this, right? Didn't want to ruin the story in case people don't want to hear it, right? I typically leave things for the end of the videos, so here we go. I know that romance novels are very popular with the ladies, right? Not so much with guys, right? And as a content creator who literally and figuratively does some of this shit because it's involved in the gaming side of things versus just reading novels you get at Barnes and Noble or wherever, basically, it's kind of like people in the 50 Shades crap. I know there's women who enjoy that, right? I'm not trying to take aim at you. If you enjoy the novels, you enjoy the novels. But I think there's a problem with that, though. It is as bad as some people's, how can I put this, need to watch videos, right? Which is a huge problematic thing with most guys, if I'm being honest, right? And in a way, it kind of desensitizes you. Versus imagining what love is. You know, everything is such, take for instance Choices app, revolved around Bound Chicka Wow Wow, right? Like, and it seems like people have forgotten that. Everybody revolves around the novels and the videos and the things like that. Love is just, it's something that a romance novel really can't describe. It tries its best, but it never is truly there. And then also, things aren't as, air quote, perfect as these novels portray, too. Right? One of the things that kind of like feels so totally disingenuous is how every single one of the guys in all the books, that they just are perfect. Their physique is perfect. Their mentality is perfect. It's just perfect. And the same can be said for things that guys watch or whatever that raises this perfection expectation of, you know, whatnot for women that just is unrealistic and like just it's just not something that is there. And it's kind of like societal things with women, right? Women are supposed to dress a certain way, they're supposed to wear a ton of makeup, they're supposed to have their hair fixed up. Like, you ladies spend god knows how much to make yourselves look pretty because of society telling you so, when basically you will never beat a woman who has bare minimum, if not no makeup at all, and feels absolutely confident about herself. And I think that a lot of people need to work on that, because happiness is something that is very simple. It is something that is very attainable, and is something that you basically can get, but you have to find it yourself. You can't believe society and the need for buying this or that or the whole nine yards, kind of like the novels. Love is a flawed thing, but it is a beautiful flaw. So I could talk about this all day and night. But, yeah, no, I just am not a huge fan of the way romance novels portray both men and women, right? Like, you look at a lot of the women in these novels. Do they look like you? Ask yourself that. Do they look like you? Do they act like you? No, they're not. And I get it, it's kind of like video games. It's a way of you escaping your reality or whatnot. But, you know, maybe, I don't know, find other people that are kind of like you, and find happiness in yourself and in those other people. That's all I have to say. I know I've been a little ranty at the end of this, but that's just how I feel. I'm more of a down-to-earth, simple guy. You will never find in one of these romance novels. Yeah, I don't have big, strong, muscular pecs and my six-pack that's glistening like the Spartan gods, but yeah, no, I have a lot more to offer than that, just physicality, and it just, I don't know, it irks me when you need to look like that. You need to be successful. You need to have the car, the money, the hair, the everything. Like, you just have to be a certain way. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below, but otherwise, thank you all for listening, especially if you stayed at the end, let me know. Some of you typically let me know in the comment section about whether you agree with what I've just said or not. But otherwise, thank you all for watching, and yeah, catch you all later. Peace out.